What? What? No. Trash. Hey. Hey. Trash.
to return and fight. He brought with him half of his patron's army, but even that was no match for the forces of Sōmaoro. To have any chance, he would have to unite a coalition of smaller, disparate kingdoms to oppose Sōmaoro. By force of will, personality, and a shared hatred of Sōmaoro, he actually managed to do so. Their revolt began in 1234, and that brings us back to where our story began, the twang of a bow and the glorious victory of Sunjata. In the wake of the battle, Sunjata, only 18, was crowned Mansa, or emperor, of the 12-nation alliance that had marched with him. The nations were technically answerable to him, but he ran the Mali Empire more as a
federation than as an absolute despot, with each tribe sending a chiefly representative to court. With its disparate, hostile tribes now fully integrated, Sunjata's new kingdom was uniquely situated for success. Indeed, the borders of Mali expanded further than Ghana's ever had. And unlike the Ghana Empire, which had been merely situated between the salt deposits to the north and the productive gold mines to the south, the Mali Empire's newly annexed territories now contained 3 immense gold mines within its own borders. Seeing this potential, Sunjata reinvigorated the trade in salt, slaves, and gold, taxing every merchant who passed through his lands. The combination of a decentralized, stable government and steady tax revenue allowed Sunjata to organize and outfit a sizable full-time military to guard the caravan routes, ensuring that trade would continue to flow. He selected his hometown of Niani as the new capital of his empire, a center which was further south than the old Ghanan capital, less vulnerable to Moroccan raiders and better situated for agriculture. He would rule for 20 years, and though he would die in some sort of tragic accident, either by drowning or being mistakenly shot at a festival, we're not sure which, his life ushered in a new age for West Africa. But that new age came with new problems. The next 25 years saw great gains for Mali, but also dynastic struggles that threatened to undo the fragile peace. For after Sunjata's death, custom dictated that his biological son become the new Mansa. But since the boy was too young, one of Sunjata's adopted sons seized the throne. At first, everything seems to go okay. For over 15 years, Sunjata's successor added yet more lands to the empire, and initiated agricultural reforms that helped secure food production. He also introduced Islam into the monarchy, and became the first ruler of Mali to make the Hajj, or pilgrimage to Mecca, helping to strengthen ties with North Africa. But Sunjata's successor had also adopted the sons of his generals as a part of his efforts to hold on to power, and when he died, 2 of his adopted sons split the country in a devastating civil war. First, one son ruled for 4 years, his reign's lavishness matched only by his cruelty. Then, upon his death, the other son took the throne, and proved an even worse ruler than his brother. At this point, the people rose up and killed him in a riot. After that, the nation's representatives swore, no more foolishness, it was time to govern. For the next several decades, a series of court officials with close ties to Sunjata took the throne, and things finally began to even out. They opened direct trade negotiations with Tripoli and Morocco, and led a successful military campaign into Senegal. With trade booming, they financed an exploratory expedition into the Atlantic, which returned with reports of a great river flowing through the ocean. Seeing an opportunity for wealth and adventure, the king, Mansa Abubakari Keita II, raised a fleet of 2,000 ships and prepared to find and settle whatever new land this current might sweep him to. He left his regent in charge of the empire and dropped his sails. Neither the emperor nor any of his ships were ever heard from again. Yet this unfortunate occurrence paved the way for Mali's golden age. Corinth, 480 BCE. Representatives from 70 Greek city-states.
You may have heard of the likes of Christopher Columbus, Marco Polo, Ferdinand Magellan, Hernan Cortés, Amerigo Vespucci, and Francisco Pizarro. but my story, the story of an African explorer, navigator, and voyager to the Americas before all those of
Timbuktu. Perhaps no place in the world has so vividly captured our imagination like this fabled desert city in the West African nation of Mali. Mysterious, otherworldly. So remote and difficult to reach, most people don't even know if it truly exists. I have a deep connection to this part of the world. My own ancestry can be traced back to the desert nomads who settled Timbuktu centuries ago. Along the big bend of the Niger River, where Savannah meets the Sahara, Timbuktu was an oasis in the vast desert. A vibrant city at the heart of the trans-Saharan trade routes. Merchants came here carrying gold from the south and salt from the north. They also brought scholarship, creating an astonishing written record of intellectual achievement on par with the Italian Renaissance. With its renowned university, Timbuktu became a center of scientific inquiry and religious tolerance. And then there was the music. Musicians celebrated the region's deeply rooted musical traditions, creating a sound so soul-stirring that it's transcended all boundaries and time, from this heart of Africa to the place I call home in the Mississippi Delta, a music we now know around the world as the blues. The music is celebrated yearly at the world-famous Festival of the Desert, where regional musicians share the stage with rock legends.
This part of West Africa is like the cradle of music. It's like the big bang of all the music that we love.
When Islam reached West Africa in the 8th century, Muslim historians began to write about West Africa as it spread throughout the area. Documents about the history of this region show Arab historians knew it as the Balad al-Sudan, the land of the blacks. The empires of Ghana, Mali, Songhai, Timbuktu, and Gao became the first sub-Saharan people to accept Islam, early as 850 AD. Commercial centers provided the first places of worship as traders began to have prayer areas in the towns. These centers of trade invariably became symbols of African civilization, showcasing an Islamic learning dynasty. The community was governed under the Islamic Sharia system, and scholars began gathering to share vast resources of knowledge. Al-Bakri, the Muslim geographer, provides an early account of ancient Ghana in his book, Roads and Kingdoms. He describes Ghana of 1068 as highly advanced. Al-Bakri writes, economically, it was a prosperous country. The king had employed Muslim interpreters, and most of his ministers and treasurers were also Muslims. The Muslim ministers were learned enough to record events in Arabic and corresponded on behalf of the king with other rulers. He gives the following picture of Islam in Ghana during that time. The city of Ghana consists of 2 towns lying on a plain, one of which is inhabited by Muslims and is large, possessing 12 mosques, one of which is a congregational mosque for Friday prayers. West African griots tell the story of a woman named Bucktu, who settled near the banks of the Niger early in the 11th century. She maintained a water well which became a social center and stopping place for caravans of travelers. A village was formed, which was later named Timbuktu. A supreme judge named Sheikh Sidi Abu al-Barakat Mahmud, who had visited Mecca and Cairo, ordered that a mosque be built. With the financial backing of a wealthy Mandekan woman, they designed a mosque featuring an inner court with the exact dimensions of the Kaaba in Mecca. It would become a leading center of education. Timbuktu had long been a destination or stop for merchants from the Middle East and North Africa. It wasn't long before ideas as well as merchandise began passing through the fabled city. Since most, if not all, these traders were Muslim, the mosque would see visitors constantly. The temple accumulated a wealth of books from throughout the Muslim world, becoming not only a center of worship, but a center of learning. Books became more valuable than any other commodity in the city, and private libraries sprouted up in the homes of local scholars. In addition to books, Timbuktu accumulated navigational maps and logs from geographers throughout the world. During the 10th century, stories began to surface of sailors reaching a distant land. By the 14th century, West Africa had seen the rise of the Mali Empire, one of the largest in the world.
All right, sit down. Get up there. Get down. Every time you don't poop, I'll start popping. Sit down. Don't get up. Get back up there and sit down. You done enough running around. Sit down. You done enough running around. Sit down. Sit down.
Mr. Philip Collier. I don't know where to start this one. I remember when his poster first went up. My banners, they said. Well, they all are, until they ain't. I might have even looked for him too, but none of us could find him. It sounds like they spotted him in the swamps. If that's where he's been, on the run all this time, then God help him. Ain't much in the way of company out there, or much that won't try and eat you or put you on a pike. Got to ask what years of that might have done to his mind.
I've been here for years. Trash. See, I got no one with him. Philip Collier, Castile Cotton Company chief clerk. So you already know that. Why that man now must look. No, not for that. If you just let me be. So hoping for someone to share this with.
Thank you.